folks, and welcome to Fast Break Breakfast NBA podcast. My name is Keith Parrish. I'm here once again with my buddies through the miracle of computer phone. Here with Chuck Anderson.
Hey now.
That was very delightful. A nice timbre, higher register than normal. Listen, that's my register. The way this works, John, and I mean Chuck and everybody, I'm the tenor, kind of you're more of a baritone.
I guess.
John, very talented voice. Actually, we've traded out John, and the third voice of our beautiful contrapunto is going to be the high tenor of Joey Devine.
Hi.
Yeah, we could sing. We only do the Dinklage song when there's a quiz coming up. But Joey, welcome to the show. Happy Election Day. Glad you could be here.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I tried to vote in 1 minute before meeting here.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'm going to go by there, and I think there might be no line because no one exercises their franchise where I live. And there was, in fact, no line. But this is how informed I am on all the issues. There were numerous things on the ballot about changing the Tennessee state constitution. I had no idea. I got to prep. Do I vote yes or no for slavery? Apparently, we're voting yes for slavery, right? You vote yes on the slavery amendment?
Yes on the slavery amendment.
I'm not joking, Joey. There's a slavery amendment on the Tennessee ballot. We're supposed to vote yes. I believe, now correct me if I'm wrong, Chuck, I believe we're outlawing slavery.
Amendment 1 outlaws unpaid labor of any kind as indentured servitude, which would stop prisons from being...
They outlawed podcasting, Chuck?
Pretty much. So basically prison labor will have to be paid.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, you got to outlaw that. That's horrible. Prison labor
That's what I said, Joey.
Worst.
You vote yes on the slavery. There also was one about banning priests and preachers for being in the state assembly. I haven't done my research yet.
Keep them out.
Keep them out. Sounds right, but I don't think that's also. Is that legal? I don't know.
I don't think so. It's definitely against Christians.
Chuck,
so
I'm
you guys
for
would
that.
be happy to know California has 2 gambling ones on their ballot, and they're competing. One is the FanDuel one where
I was about to make a joke. Is it called the FanDuel Act? Okay.
I mean, it's not. It's called like Proposition number. But it's like FanDuel and DraftKings being like sports gambling, yes. But then the other one is Indian casinos being like sports gambling here. And I was initially going to vote for the FanDuel one, but then I heard if you vote for the Indian casino one, you can then play craps in an Indian casino. So now I don't know what to vote.
I don't know what to do. We are easily the best culture that's ever lived with our informed electorate of walking in and being like, I've never heard of any of these. I didn't know.
I just vote for whatever the Knock LA one, the leftist,
I mean, honestly, I walked
voter
in,
guide tells me to.
I put on a mask to walk in the place, and I'm like, can you just pre-fill my ballot?
Yeah.
I'm wearing a mask. Like, just pre-fill, tell me, I'll cast it. You tell me which way they're going to want me to vote. There's no NBA today, which is a depressing thing. I guess it's good for the arena workers and everybody to be able to go vote.
From last night?
Oh, no, Chuck, tell me about your voice. Because your voice is worn out. I thought you were just doing a little nice thing. Your voice sounds worn out. Is it not worn out? This is just regular.
I was in a sauna for an hour today.
you got sauna voice, man.
I think this might be sauna voice. It's very possible.
There's a sign on the sauna that tells you shouldn't be in there for an hour.
Yeah.
Chuck.
So it's like I do it in 15-minute intervals. I'll do 15 in the sauna, 5 in the cold shower, and I'm basically destroying my nervous system and cardiovascular system in an hour. And now I sound like this. Also, we didn't do breakfast. Should we do breakfast?
Yeah. What
might have something to do with this.
Are you allowed to eat in the sauna? That doesn't seem right.
I didn't.
Can you cook your own ramen while you boil?
For breakfast,
I had shabu in the sauna.
Yeah, we made short ribs. No, I'm doing this thing now where I'm eating I'm eating like a pound of ground beef in the morning for breakfast. So that's what I did today.
You
Like
every week,
raw?
every week as
Hard-
I'm doing a new like your cycles have shortened. It used to be
It
every
used to
couple of
be-
months you're trying a new
no.
fad. Now it's
Just-
literally every week. You're like, I
I'm-
started
I'm-
a pound of ground beef raw.
I'm fine tuning. That's what this is.
Wait,
It's
what
course
do you
corrections.
do to the ground beef, Chuck?
I don't
just
want to know,
season
man.
it.
He's eating it out of the pack. I know he
I
is.
just
With a
I
spoon.
definitely cook it.
With a
I
spoon he
had-
doesn't even wash.
I had to cook 7.5 pounds of beef the other day just because I went to Costco and I got almost 8 pounds of beef.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm doing now. Beef and like hot, like extreme hot for long periods of time.
This is because John mentioned the Liver King last episode, and now
Yeah.
Going all in.
you're just going all raw meats. This is
Mhm.
horrifying.
Well, whatever you do,
You were
Chuck,
literally
do
a
not-
fake vegetarian for a solid 3 years of the show.
I don't look, it's not for you.
Not for
this
moral
is for
reasons.
me.
Because- yeah, it's for you.
This is
Yeah.
for me. You know, and this is what I'm doing. So, but I'm glad there's like an audible difference.
Oh yeah, the
my
ground
voice.
beef is destroying your vocal cords.
I just ate them. Yeah, it was pretty hot too, so that might have something to do with it.
Joey, what was your breakfast?
I had my classic breakfast, which is a yellow Red Bull and a cigarette.
I should make more fun of that and less fun of Chuck's thing. Compared to Joey,
Oh.
Chuck, you're doing great.
that was my breakfast for a very long time. For a very long time. Years and years.
Yeah.
What-
I
I
love
love
what-
Red Bull.
What makes the yellow Red Bull your favorite? It's just
it tastes
the
not
tangy
like
flavor?
chemicals.
Yeah, it's a little less like chemically.
Yeah, it tastes
Pro-
more like a soda.
Yes, less like an industrial solvent.
Yeah.
I've
That's what
never
I
had.
did.
I've only had the regular Red Bull. I think I've only had it like a couple times. You know, when they're throwing up. You know, when the Red Bull people are giving them away in the little Red Bull
Yeah.
cars, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh, what's this? And it was shocking. It was like when I was a child and tried Coca-Cola for the first time.
Yeah, Red Bull tastes like if you took like a chemical and then also melted sweet tarts in it.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
yeah. I
yeah.
do like sweet.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like what the flavor of magnesium is and also
Yeah.
high fructose corn syrup. I don't know what magnesium tastes like, but it tastes like Red Bull.
And
Is
citric
5-hour
acid,
energy
yeah.
still
Yes.
around? Did 5-hour energy last in the energy wars?
So
Yeah,
they
I
had
think
to-
so. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
you know, they're a staple, but they've expanded because that's what capitalism does.
Yeah.
So they make these like Red Bull sized energy drinks. And I was like, the whole point of it was that it was quick and I didn't have to
Yeah.
Well, what
drink
they
a
should
lot.
do is they should, you know, like those old, if you're watching like the Maltese Falcon or something, and they're serving a drink, and everyone had those awesome like soda makers, you know, like in like the 30s and 40s when you're like,
Yeah,
You
yeah.
make your own seltzer.
That's the
Yeah.
like the clowns would spray on each
Yeah,
other.
yeah.
Yeah. But you should have those little like a Keurig should be the 5-hour energy thing, and then you should have your soda creator where then you just, I don't know, you aerosolize it or something. You turn
Sure.
it
I
into
once
a giant.
watched a hungover bartender at the Bubba Gump Shrimp Company take a 20-ounce glass, pour a Red Bull in it, a 5-hour energy, and then top it off with Mountain Dew and chug the entire thing.
I think that's what Lamar Odom did before
That's
playing NBA
incredible.
games. Yeah,
That's incredible.
my breakfast was plain white rice, just leftover.
You should have borrowed some of Chuck's ground beef.
I have
really-
so
on
much
top of
ground
it.
beef, dude.
Man,
Have
I-
whatever you want.
I am so inept at fixing myself food, and have backslid during my years of being married, where like for a while there, out of necessity, I was starting to learn some things. But now, like, my wife's an incredible cook, and she's like, "Don't even do this if I try to make something." She's like, "No, this is
Right.
horrible. This is awful." So she does it. So she went out on Monday night, and it was a trade-off because I was like, "Listen, I have a big NBA night on Monday night. I'd be happy just to sit in front of the TV. If there's a little tit for tat trade-off, you want to go do something, go do something." So she goes out to dinner with some friends. So I'm just serving the kids, you know, and myself dinner. And it turns out there's very few things at the house that I know how to prepare. And I make
White
the kids,
rice was one of them.
I make the kids dino nuggets. I make
Yeah,
myself, I'm like, I'll eat a couple dino nuggets because how bad could they be? Awful.
They're not good.
They're incredible. What are you talking
They
about?
were really horrific. I couldn't.
No, you put a little hot sauce on it.
I did. No.
A little Cholula.
But then I'm just like, you know what? I'm just
Fantastic.
gonna like scramble some eggs and make a bunch of white rice, mix it all together, and throw some of that like chili paste in there. It'll taste fine to me. And so I ate that, but I didn't know the quantities, and I just made like 2 cups of dry white rice.
Oh, that's like
so much white rice.
That's like 4 cups of rice now.
Yeah, it's so much rice now. So I had some leftovers, and it's a packed Tuesday, despite no NBA games. For me, it's a packed Tuesday, and I'm like, well, I'll just eat some of this leftover white rice. I just ate it raw. Just had nothing. Just a white sustenance, man.
Between the two of us, we got a meal.
We had a whole meal, man. You just combine all the ingredients. We could Voltron this breakfast, and we'd be doing fine. Anyways, those were our breakfasts. After our breakfasts, we move to our breakfast in bed apologies. This is our chance to make right what we might have gotten wrong in a previous episode. It's frequently, and it will be this episode, the first time we talk about the NBA, which the show is supposed to be about. What things should we make right that we got wrong in a previous episode? Chuck, what do you want to make amends for?
So I was going to apologize to Dwayne Deadman, who's actually putting up like advanced stats that would make you think he doesn't suck. My heart.
But that's like his thing. That's what Dwayne Denman always does.
You look at his stats and you're like, wait, how is he not good? And then you watch him play and you're like, oh, he's not good, but it doesn't play out. But I was going to apologize to him, but instead I'm going to apologize to John Burke because he's not here.
Yeah.
And last Friday, we were supposed to have a little team meeting, me, Keith, and Burr.
Yeah.
And I went into my sauna and I got all hot.
Yeah.
And time flew from me. And so I told the boys I was at the
ground beef
gym.
went to your head.
I had too much ground beef. I was swimming in beef. So I tell Burr and Keith that I have, I just got out of the shower. Let me get dressed. We'll have our meeting. And I send a picture of me with a towel around my waist from the gym to let them know, hey, this is about to happen. Right.
No.
And
it was proof. I mean, sometimes we need proof of excuse.
Right.
We call it a lot of times. Chuck's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not at the thing. I'm actually naked. And then he sends the photo.
Yeah.
Not that he doesn't have a bunch of these things saved. It's much like when John Burr's late for a thing. He's like, oh, I'm stuck on the interstate. And he just on his phone, he just has so many saved just traffic jam photos with no timestamps he uses. But so go ahead, Chuck. So you
but
sent
I
this
sent
photo.
a picture and then I said, hey, I'll be there in 5 to 7 minutes. Let me get changed.
Yeah.
Keith texts me right back. We have to reschedule. Your picture caused John Burr to crash his car.
Yeah.
No.
And he literally hit his neighbor in his minivan because of my picture, which I take no responsibility for, but I do apologize for.
The incredible sequence of events that happened. Chuck, I like to tell the listener again, John and I were on a video call. Like we were FaceTiming. And John was in his house. And then John's like, oh, I'm walking outside. I got to go into the garage or something. And then he switches over just to an audio call. And then we're talking for like 1 minute. And he's like, oh, man, I got in a wreck. And I was like, you were inside your house like a minute ago. I didn't know you were driving. He said he got into a wreck with his neighbor. I don't know what, like he has a shared driveway almost, but apparently he didn't get in a wreck with the share. I thought he ran into his neighbor's car that was parked in his driveway or something. But apparently he got in another wreck somehow. He then sent proof of excuse, which he knows he has to. He sent a shot of his fender that was all scuffed up. Not that he doesn't have a lot of those already saved on his phone, because it's not the first time he sent a photo of a traffic incident where he's banged up the car. But yeah, so I don't know what the order of events is or the level of blame that should be assigned, but I guess it is good. You just went ahead and preemptively apologized there.
Sorry, Burr.
Joe, you have
It's all
anything?
your fault.
I mean, you're a guest. We don't necessarily force the guests to guest hosts to apologize.
I'd like to apologize for anyone who listened to any of the season preview podcasts we did on Roundball Rock, because every single prediction I made has been incorrect. I said the Minnesota Timberwolves were going to win 55 games.
What?
Everything is wrong.
Lots of things are upside down. What are the things? What are some of the bigger predictions / question marks that you guys had coming into this year that you feel like now after a few weeks you've gotten an answer for? Like one of them, like Joey said, for me, a big question was the Timberwolves. Like, how's the Timberwolves thing going to work? And now Gobert's missed the last 2 games. So I don't know what conclusions we take from that. But I was like, how is this going to work? I wasn't that optimistic about it, but the answer for me is, oh, they're not going to be that great. Like, this is just not, they're not going to be an elite team. They're not a 55 win team. I don't think they're necessarily better than they were last year. I don't know if they will get there, but that's something I feel has been answered for me 3 weeks into the season. Like, oh, I've now seen this. And guess what? No, they messed up huge making that massive trade for Gobert. What are some other things that you guys had questions going into the year that you feel like you've at least gotten an answer for?
I feel like that's kind of the only one I got an answer for. The season's so weird, I still don't understand. I mean, I guess the Cavs one.
I think that's a huge one.
Had a question. Yeah, that they're good. But
they're awesome.
Kind of expected them to be good. But everything else, it's still like up in the air, like massively. Like, I don't know, the Hawks. Are the Hawks any good?
That's one I have. That's actually one I wrote down. One of my big questions coming into the year is, how are Trae Young and DeJounte Murray going to coexist? And for like fantasy basketball, I was like, is Trae going to eat into DeJounte Murray's stats? No. Like, they are coexisting and they are doing great. They gave the Bucks their first loss of the season. Like, the Hawks look legit. That Trae Young, DeJounte Murray thing looks pretty awesome. And so, like, that's another one. Maybe it is too early.
But for me, I still don't believe it because everything seems messed up. Like, the Spurs and Jazz are like awesome.
The Jazz have the best record in the West.
There's no way that's gonna stay. I don't.
The Jazz have the top offense in the NBA, the best offensive rating in the NBA. All of that, the Jazz offense seems sustainable to me. They just generate great 3-point looks constantly. But I've seen Lauri Markkanen have to play 2 weeks of good basketball and then go back to being Lauri Markkanen before. His box plus minus isn't even good, by the way. Like, they're winning. He's not actually doing anything that's like that remarkable out of line with what he's done in his career. I do think the Jazz are somewhat consistent enough. Chuck, do you have anything that you were like, I want to see how this works? And then now after a few games, or at least 10 games, you're like, oh, this is how this is going.
My whole Philadelphia 76ers take was like, let's see how all these, and now Harden's hurt. It took him a while to get Melton into the starting lineup. I don't know what's going to what's going to go forward with them, but
I'm not buying that one until they fire Doc Rivers anyway. Yeah, that's very clearly what's going to happen.
I mean, that's what we talked about on previous episodes. Was I feel like 2 games into the Sixers year, I was like, oh, I hate watching this team. This is garbage, and I don't think they're going to be that good. But I do feel like I got an unexpected Christmas present with James Harden being out for a month. And I don't want anyone to get injured, but just being allowed to watch Melton on a new team where it's like Tyrese Maxey, Melton, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid, that's cool. That's a lot. I am enjoying these, even if their offensive execution is horrific. And they don't do anything. They don't run anything. They post up Tobias Harris from 20 feet. It's like their go-to play for the last 5 minutes of games.
Yeah.
I'll say another one.
By the way, listeners, you might be able to hear this. I have a leaf blower outside my window for some reason.
I'll just edit it out, Joey.
Okay, sorry.
It's fine. So you need to send me a photo though for proof of excuse.
Yeah, you gotta have.
Yeah, we don't on Fastbreak Breakfast. We don't take anyone's word for anything.
No trust at all.
Oh, did you just crank your volume up because the leaf blower just came in?
No,
real
he's
loud.
Literally right outside the window.
Listen, we just have a healthy amount of skepticism, like Kyrie Irving. Okay, we're just asking questions.
I'm also strategically
questions.
I'm also strategically muting and unmuting when I'm not talking.
Another question I had coming into the year before I get to my apology. What are the Nets going to look like? Oh, they're a trash can. Like, they are garbage. They look better without Kyrie, but
yeah. Also, what the coaching situation was going to do in Boston, apparently nothing either. Like that.
Oh yeah. They've
just plowed through without having to worry about that issue. And now they're going to give their old coach to the Nets. It's beautiful.
Apparently David Stern rose from the grave and has barred that move from happening. The ghost of David Stern visited. I love that. I mean, honestly, Joey, I know on Round Ball Rock, your podcast, you have done a few basketball-themed A Christmas Carol parodies.
We have, yeah.
I feel like you might need another one where the ghost of David Stern, or maybe David Stern, past, present, and future, the ghost visits the Brooklyn Nets organization and just says, "Here's how I would deal with this."
It's pretty good.
Here's how Kyrie, here's how I would deal with this. Joe Tsai, you seem to be hiring Ime Udoka. Here's why we're not going to do this. My apology. I mentioned that Romeo Langford was not in the NBA. And I found out that Romeo Langford, in fact, was in the NBA, not like 5 minutes after we got done recording, well before posting the episode. I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll just delete this. And I'm like, no, I'll own it. I don't have to be omniscient. I don't have to know everything. Right after we got done recording, I saw something on Twitter where like Zach Collins was talking about like, oh yeah, we just had some film work and we were going over the best 10 defensive plays and Romeo Langford made 7 of them. And I was like, what? And then I'm looking at the stats and I'm like, Romeo Langford played like 30 minutes in a game against the Timberwolves. For whatever reason, I completely missed the fact that he was part of the Derek White trade and he's been on the Spurs for a year.
Yeah.
And he's actually been playing like good minutes for
him.
He
plays kind of a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, plays kind of a lot. So like that was a huge error for me. I apologize for getting that wrong. I apologize for my ignorance. I apologize to Spurs fans for not watching your team closely. A big miss by me. And for that, I hope you will forgive me. Anyway, those were our breakfast in bed apologies. Before we get to our steak and eggs best things, I'll give you a word from our sponsor, the Memphis Grizzlies. Guarantee your Grizz and get the season's biggest games, best giveaways, and best seats at a great price with 2022-2023 season tickets, half-season plans, and 10-game packs. Lock in your tickets to see Ja, Jaren, Dez, and your all-time favorite Grizzlies make big-time noise. Get your tickets now. Call 901-888-HOOP or click grizzlies.com. Also, go to Grizzlies watch parties, especially those of you in the Nashville area. We will be hosting a Grizzlies watch party on Friday night, November 11th, as Kyle Anderson and the underwhelming Minnesota Timberwolves play at the FedEx Forum. That game is at 8:30 p.m. Joey will not make it. Not quite close enough. But John, Chuck, and myself will be at Noble's Beer Hall, 8:30 p.m. on Friday night, giving away Grizzlies prizes. Come hang out. Those of you in the Middle Tennessee area for a Grizzlies watch party this Friday, November 11th at 8:30 p.m.
Look, they won't be underwhelming when they trade Karl Anthony Towns for Kevin Durant.
Hey, now. All right, steak and eggs, best thing. What is the best thing you saw in the last week? Joey, what's your steak and eggs?
Well, mine is actually a combination of best thing and worst thing because as your listeners might know, I'm a Golden State Warriors fan. And fair enough. Last night, Steph Curry had a game that had never before happened in NBA history. He had 47, 8, and 8 with 0 turnovers. And that was great. It was amazing. He also had 86% true shooting to do it. But the problem is the Warriors are so bad, he had to do that to beat the Kings by 4 points.
Sometimes just turning that steamer ship around, turning that cargo ship around when you have that momentum of that losing streak, it takes a Herculean effort like Steph to change the direction of the ship, and he did it. Also, it takes a pretty blatant missed foul call on the final play. Where Kevin Huerter got clearly fouled by Klay Thompson. Now, in the official's defense, and in maybe Klay Thompson's benefit, did Klay Thompson know that the closest official probably couldn't see whatever he did from that angle with Huerter's body in the way? But that actually leads right into my best thing. which is the absolute disastrous death spiral of the last 2-minute reports. In this last week, the last 2-minute report, which comes out later today, will say that Klay Thompson fouled Kevin Huerter, and he deserved 3 free throws to attempt to tie the game. Not to say he would have made all 3 free throws. Earlier on Monday night, Kevin Durant got fouled on a 3-pointer, down by 3 in the final seconds, had a chance to tie it against the Mavericks. Kevin Durant had made 62 consecutive free throws, and he missed the second one and then missed the third one on purpose. So Kevin Durant made 62 straight, then missed 2 straight. But we had this blown last 2-minute call. Chuck, I believe you're well aware with the Kings also being damaged by a last 2-minute report where Tyler Hero hit a game winner where he traveled blatantly, plainly, obviously in real time, traveled. And the Kings got the report. Oh, yeah, we missed that call. And then, which might be the apex of the last 2-minute report, in a Trailblazers Suns game, they missed 3 calls in the final 2 minutes. One, they called Mikal Bridges for traveling. He did not travel. And then they did not call Jeremy Grant for traveling on his buzzer beater when he in fact did travel. So we've now hit the point where game-ending buzzer beating plays, we've had essentially 3 in a span of a few days where they got it wrong, where it directly impacted the result of the basketball game.
I'd rather they
the
made
final
no
thing.
calls.
Yeah,
I mean,
play.
I think we've been through this a lot where I prefer art over science.
Mm-hmm.
I agree that without question, Klay Thompson committed a foul by the rule book.
Yes.
I can live with that.
But also, look, I'm going to sound like a Warriors homer here, but I don't mean it that way. Like, if you watch the Kevin Huerter shot, Kevin Huerter also swings his legs into
No, I didn't do that one.
Klay Thompson trying to get a foul call, and trying to get a foul call on a 3-point heave at the end of the game is just
does
dumb.
not look my defense of the referee would be, if you're at floor level, it does not look like a foul.
Yeah.
From the sideline, from the TV camera, from the normal broadcast angle,
yeah,
it does not look like a foul. When you see the baseline camera where you can see them side by side, you're like, oh yeah, Klay Thompson's arm is not straight up in the least. He has his hand on his back. That is a foul. But I prefer to err on the side of no calls.
exactly.
Err on the side of no calls. It is especially painful when you have buzzer beaters go in.
Look, I feel bad for the Kings.
I feel bad for the Kings, especially like the Hero shot. I feel bad for the Suns on the Jeremy Grant shot.
Yeah.
I mean,
and the Josh Hart shot.
The Josh Hart, apparently, as far as I know, it was legal.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, the Blazers
But as far as I'm
had two
concerned,
buzzer beaters in a span of 3 games, which, like, has never had. Like the
Tyler
Bulls,
Hero,
DeMar DeRozan did that last year, right? But it's a very rare event.
The Tyler Hero non-call was just to make up for that Max Strus nonsense in the playoffs last year. He hovered over the end line. He did not go out of bounds.
I still, no one has ever shown me. I need proof that he did it. It looks like he stepped out of bounds. Yeah. A near Sean Elliott.
But also, are you sure you want to cash that chip in to beat the Kings in the first month of a season?
Those are the ones we need to get. I'll take any one right now because we're losing to everybody.
I mean, if the replays conclusively prove that if this travel had been called, the game would be over and this one team won, is it just a slippery slope that we can't go back and make the change? Like, there's nothing to replay. Like, there's nothing to replay on the Jeremy Grant. I guess, all right, the Suns now have to inbounds the ball with
you can't start taking wins and losses away from teams retroactively, Keith. It
has to be in game.
Yeah, what are you like? That's like some Minority Report Philip K. Dick stuff. Like,
if we're not doing it, then why are we writing the reports up?
Exactly.
That's where it goes to.
What is the point of the report?
What is the point of the report? If it conclusively shows if this call was not made at the buzzer, like, that's the reason we added replay. That's the reason we added the replay for the buzzer beaters going in, because you had that Reggie Miller 3-pointer in the playoffs that was released after the buzzer. And they're like, hey, this one thing, we can look and immediately make a ruling, and thus it affects the end of the game. But now, of course, it's just gone on and on. I also feel bad Kings fans are already convinced the league is against them. Like, where's Ralph Nader to step in and bring the lawsuit against these last 2-minute reports and award the Kings 2 victories that they deserve. No, the last 2-minute reports in his death spiral. It's useless. Chuck, what's your best thing?
My best thing is Dwayne Wade. I'm not usually for.
Is it 2007?
It's not 2007.
Is he still working for the Jazz? What's he doing?
He's an undercover agent. I don't know what he's doing, but he's there. Anyway, he's taking a stand, fighting his ex-wife on the internet about his daughter's identification and changing her name to match her identity. I think he went to the mat against his ex-wife, which having an ex-wife, whenever somebody beats one on the internet, not physically. Wait.
Well, thanks for clearing that up.
Whenever somebody bests their ex on the internet, I always applaud. And so Dwayne Wade took her position, put it through the ringer, and made himself an ally to the LGBTQI plus community, and something I think needs to happen more with NBA players.
Well, good for Dwayne Wade making a stand there. Never know how to transition from sincere segments.
I'm very sincere. Good on you, Wade.
Well,
I didn't realize that the cube was his ex-wife. That was that game, that glass cube, game show he hosted. But yeah.
I Googled the name of his ex-wife, and I've never seen that name before in my life. So there we are. Anyway, those were our best things. The opposite of our best thing is our cream of the week. Worst thing. What's the worst thing you saw in the last week, Chuck? What's your worst thing?
So my worst of the week, Donovan Mitchell is too damn good. It doesn't make sense. He was incredible in Utah. He shot the lights out. He was insane. But now he's also like passing the ball and playing defense. Are you kidding me? This isn't fair. This isn't what I said. The Cavs trade was a bad one for the Cavs for a reason that I can't explain right now. Yeah, but it might have to do with Lauri Markkanen. I don't know. Who knows? But I know that the worst thing for my team, the Miami Heat's team, is a powerhouse for the next 10 years, it feels like, or 5 years at least, in Cleveland. And Donovan's doing the damn thing. So shout out to him, but also that sucks.
The Cavs, they did finally lose. They lost to a Clippers team, which woke up finally this year. It turns out Norm Powell and Reggie Jackson are not the worst 2 players in the NBA, which they had played like. They literally, by the way, had the worst 2-man net rating of the entire NBA out of like 458 players who played 100 minutes together. Norm Powell and Reggie Jackson were the worst 2 in net rating, but they played well to basically win a close game against the Cavaliers, who finally lost. They look absolutely astounding. The price for Donovan Mitchell, which is going to be a bunch of picks that are like 28th, 29th, or 30th in the draft. The price they paid compared to what the Timberwolves paid for Gobert, going back to that again, like, why didn't the Timberwolves trade for Donovan Mitchell? Like, they were so, you know why they didn't? Because they were so upset about how many offensive rebounds Brandon Clark got in the playoffs. They literally cited, hey, we're not going to lose. We're not going to get crushed on the offensive glass now in postseason matchups. It's like, maybe aim higher than defeating Brandon Clark when you trade 5 first-round picks and a Walker Kessler for a guy. No, the Cavaliers are really, really good. Donovan Mitchell playing good defense, passing the ball. Also, my guy Karis LeVert, who has been a punching bag for me, not a fan. He's just passing the ball. He's playing good defense. Like, they look super tough. Joey, what's your worst thing?
My worst thing is I hate to pick another Golden State Warriors one, but it's them outsmarting themselves and possibly ruining what like the greatness that is like Steph Curry's final years of his prime here by deciding they need to play James Wiseman and Jonathan Kuminga. And even on top of that, look, Kuminga is fine. He's not great, but like, so last night Steve Kerr was like, we're going to change the rotation. We're going small. And everyone was like, ooh, no Wiseman, we're going to get some Kuminga. And then he played Anthony Lamb like 25 minutes. And Anthony Lamb is a two-way guy who's also a scumbag who shouldn't even be on the team. He shouldn't be in the league. He's a scumbag. Don't sign guys who maybe have several credible sexual assault accusations against them to two-way contracts and then play them over Jonathan Kuminga.
Man.
What's your concern level, Joey? Like, the Warriors are 4-7.
Mhm.
They lost 5 straight or 6 straight?
It was 5 straight.
They lost 5 straight. They almost lost
Yeah.
6 straight.
Yeah, they almost lost 6.
The Warriors are 4-7. What's
Mhm.
what's our panic meter? What's our
I mean, I'm still, it's not
what's
that
our we
high.
need to do this we need to do this on scale of fried egg doneness,
Okay.
probably, or something. Should over easy? What's which way should the scale go, Chuck? What's the most panic when it comes to your fried egg doneness? Is it
I'm panicking right when it starts to harden.
okay? So harden. All right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, right there, because I don't want a hard
Yeah,
yolk.
yeah. So runny yolk is the best, and then we'll
But you gotta-
overcooked is yeah.
Right. Yeah. For me, it's better under than over.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so you're gonna,
So
wait-
what's your
wait till
concern?
it
I would
wiggles.
say I'm
Joey,
at
4 out
like-
of 7.
I'm at like an over medium.
An over medium, okay. So
Because
a little bit concerned,
here's the thing, like their starting 5 is still the best 5-man lineup in basketball by all the metrics. The problem has been the bench gives up double the points that the starting 5 can score. And part of that problem has been Jordan Poole has been atrocious this year.
I wonder why.
I mean,
Maybe
a
he's
couple of
afraid to go to
reasons.
work.
Yeah, maybe he's not feeling safe and cared for at his place of employment.
But also they were pairing him with a man who has played 10 basketball games in 5 years and he's 21 years old. And only a few of those games were in the NBA and they were terrible then too. But
So
I think they're okay
Yeah.
for the playoffs, but we might be looking at a play-in team here again. We might be repeating that Kelly Oubre lose.
well,
to
if
the
you
Grizzlies
lose in the
year.
if you lose in the play-in again, you can still say we've never lost a playoff series when we have Clay, Steph, and Draymond, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing. Clay has not been good.
Chuck,
either.
what's your fried egg concern level for your team, the Miami Heat, who are also 4-7? Probably pretty hard, right? That's pretty hard yolks.
I mean, we lose a lot of close games, but we also don't blow teams out. So that makes me feel uneasy. Like if we were, if we were
eggs over uneasy.
Eggs over uneasy. That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not panicked. I'm not panicked, but it's also like the signs are pointing to them needing some sort of big man. And they were going to count on Omer Yurtseven to play big minutes. He hasn't played a minute yet.
That's a rough sentence there.
Well, I mean, last year in
soaking up some
incredible.
minutes, sure. Yeah.
He's a guy who
he wasn't incredible.
He was getting like 15
incredible
15
for a
rebound
10th
games.
man.
For a 10th man. For a guy who shouldn't be playing.
So
I mean, granted, I would trade James Wiseman for Omer Yurtseven in a hot second, so I should stop.
But like also,
stop
Victor Oladipo was supposed to be like the man coming off the bench, and he hasn't played yet this year. So I don't know. The team's depth is a question, and when 2 of your bench players aren't available for all the year, then you're going to have some problems like the Heat are having. So I'm not panicking, but you get to 20 games and we're like only won 5 to 7 games.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to be like, all right, we got to trade somebody.
Well, I mean, after 11 games, you're tied with the Nets and only a game behind the Sixers. And if you take that sentence out of context before the year, you would have taken it. But 4-7.
And the East is incredible, and it's not easy to win a bunch of games. It's especially when you're playing teams. You're playing teams back to back, which I think is, I don't remember this many.
Well, that's because the Clippers, the Lakers, and the Heat get the most of these 2-game sets because they're
Right.
the extreme ends of geography,
Distance.
apparently. Yeah.
Right.
So those are y'all's specific teams. What about the Lakers? They're a full blown over hard.
They should take the egg and
2
throw
and
it in
8.
the garbage.
Yeah, throw that.
I mean, they should trade Anthony
away.
Davis, right? It's like their
I
only way
just
out
recorded
of
a
this.
Grizzlies podcast talking about trading for Anthony Davis.
The frying pan is on fire.
The frying pan is on fire.
That's what's going on with the Lakers. But it's
what
fun.
about what about some middling teams? My enthusiasm for the Pelicans has waned a little bit. I feel like I've been on this journey before. They looked amazing to start the year. Zion missed some games, and now I'm seeing Miles Turner thoroughly outplaying Zion Williamson in a basketball game. Miles Turner going off for 37 points. My Pacers are 5-5, just like I told you guys they would be. Like, are we just is the yoke still running for the Pelicans? They're enough to get together.
People always do this every year with one young team, right? Where they like project. It's like the Hawks are a great example, right? The Hawks made the Eastern Conference Finals, and then as a young team, and then kind of took a step back. Like in our minds, like progression for young teams is always linear, right?
Yeah.
Where we're like, oh, that young guy's gonna get better. And it doesn't always work that way. Like a lot of times then they have like the league figures them out and they have 6 months where it's rough and then they figure it out again and then they get slightly better, right? Like I always am wary to project on a young team or a young player like this guy's just gonna be better like immediately.
Well,
it just doesn't work that way.
Teams are probably currently game planning for Kuminga and Wiseman. That's why.
Well, no, that's
they're taking away
their
go-to.
Do you know how much tape is out there on Omar Yurtseven? There's like people are scared. They're scared of him.
That's amazing. I'll do my worst thing. My worst thing was actually on Monday night when we had every team play, and they staggered the starts every 15 minutes, and I feel like I failed. I feel like I fumbled the bag of this like thing that was given to me, and it blew past me. There were games that happened I didn't even know were going on. Like I was on the NBA.com page and like I didn't scroll over far enough, and I was like, oh, I didn't know this game was going. Like the Spurs were losing to somebody, and I missed it totally. I feel like this was
you were like an NFL fan that forgot there was a London game.
I kind of was. No, it's like this feels like a once in a lifetime thing. Maybe they'll do it again next year on the Monday before an elections, if we have elections anymore after this one. But I felt like they gave me this gift of we're going to stagger these games so you can soak as much in. I feel like my strategy was wrong. I feel like I was flipping channels too much. I needed more stasis. Just leave screens untouched. I could turn my gaze from side to side. I'm just worried I missed a beautiful opportunity and it'll never happen for me again.
I mean, Keith, that's you're fine. They're gonna play.
They're gonna try it again. I don't think they're going to try it again.
It's going to happen every election.
This was once. Yeah. This was like a once in a. At least this is once this year.
I'm telling you, this is going to happen. Well, this season.
I have to go all the way around the sun one more time before I get to try it again. What if I screw it up that time too? I'm just saying I need this more. I need practice at it. I need to get a routine of how to soak up as many of these games as possible.
Keith, this is like an obsession only you have. Like,
I'm floored
thank
by
you.
this. This is like John Burr not being able to get a stain on his pants.
It's like no, it's like
you can't be like a weird record collecting hoarder about NBA games. You just can't watch every game.
It would be like if you were like you got I don't know like a shopping spree where they're like, hey man, you can anything you put in your cart for 1 minute. You can keep it.
Yeah.
And you're like, this sounds like the most fun ever. And then you get done and you're like, I grabbed this one Vizio TV and it kind of filled up my whole shopping cart. And then I couldn't find the next thing I wanted. And like, I got a TV and that was cool. But like, I really thought it was going to be the best thing ever. I feel like you fumble. Or like if you're just going to like a buffet, taking the kids to a buffet, just eat all the desserts you want. And then you're like, you know what? I filled up on the wrong thing. and I really
well,
could have
that
done
happens
better.
at every buffet I've ever
Yeah.
been to.
But at a buffet, you're like, man, I can do this again. But what if you traveled? What if you traveled, like if you flew somewhere special and they had some kind of weird seafood buffet and you're like, man, I'm going to do this like as a once in a lifetime moment. And you're like, well, I kind of fumbled. I ate rolls. I filled up on rolls. I couldn't even enjoy all the delicacies.
That Caesar salad sitting heavy. Yeah. I just picked one game yesterday. It caused me anxiety to
one
think
game
about
Chuck.
15. That's like, let me just watch this Heat game.
Yeah.
It turned out to be a great game, bad outcome, but it was a fantastic game. Probably one of the I mean, were there any other buzzer beaters last night?
There was
well, if the refs had called the foul on Kevin Herter,
yeah, Kevin Herter
probably would have had
that.
some game tying free throws in overtime.
Yeah. But yeah, it's good. I think they should keep doing this and leave more days off.
I mean, is there a reason we can't stagger them more? Just, I mean, I guess it's for the fans and the not knowing when to show up. I do wonder
what it does.
But it's also like there's no way it helps the league to have all 15 games on it.
But no, I'm not saying you if you have a 6-game night, what if you still stagger the starts? But I know that with Grizzlies, if the Grizzlies start a game at 6:30, which they do like 5 times this year, no one shows up because no one knows to show up.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, you can't. If you're like, oh, the Grizzlies play today, it's like, all right, cool, 7. And if it ever changes, things get real messed up. Anyways, those were our worst things before we move to the awards segment of the program. We have a couple listener submitted questions. The croissant questionnaire. Do either of you guys want to read these?
Here. I do great when I read. Hold on. Okay. Here we go. Love Kebab 69 asks, what's Kyrie's over-underline on how many of the Nets' 6 labors of Irving he'll complete before he decides he's done and is let go / traded?
That's a great question. So Kyrie Irving, he made some choices in the past, the past couple weeks. He cost himself a Nike contract. He cost himself playing in some basketball games, but he eventually did apologize. And the Nets say he has to do these 6. These are the 6 labors he has to perform. Mm-hmm. He has to apologize, condemn the movie. He has to give $500,000. Has he condemned the movie, Joey? Because he said there's some things he agrees with, I believe, in the movie. I'm not, again, this is not my battle.
I'm going to bet that Instagram post counts for that one. I'm just going to.
Okay. He did apologize, but again, he still said, well, I don't know. Anyways, the donation, sure, he will do that, I guess.
Yeah. He look, the thing I will give credit to Kyrie for outside, I mean, all of this is terrible, but of a lot of the NBA players, Kyrie actually gives out like a significant amount of money to charities.
Yes, he does.
Like over everyone. Yeah. He definitely puts his money where his unmasked mouth is.
He has to do sensitivity training. He has to do anti-Semitic training. He has to meet with the Anti-Defamation League, Jewish leaders. This is from Sham Sharania with the list. And meet with Joe Tsai to demonstrate understanding. Now,
he won't reply to Joe Tsai's texts already.
No, he won't do that.
That one, I think, is the stumbling block. I think he'd do every single one of these except for maybe meet with Joe Tsai.
I'm still, depending on what condemn the movie means, that I'm not totally sure. I will say it's very strange. I mean, where I sympathize with Kyrie Irving is it's very strange for an employer to demand you like write down, I guess, and clarify your beliefs.
Yeah.
I know we need to eradicate racism, and love and understanding is definitely the answer. But there are, I hate saying slippery slope ever because that means you lost the argument. But like asking NBA players to write down their beliefs and which ones are okay is a weird, like, do you have to say, like, everyone write down that you believe the earth is older than 6,000 years old? Like, would we get half of the NBA players? Like, I don't know. So I am a little bit sympathetic. I'm also sympathetic with Kyrie if he believes in the Alex Jones. I'm not sympathetic he believes in the Alex Jones conspiracy theories about a new world order. But do you think going into Adam Silver's penthouse and meeting with him in a Manhattan skyscraper, and Adam Silver's going to be like, there is no new world order controlling the world. As you can tell by the fine furnishings around me.
While he like twirls his Freemason ring.
Right. Yeah. The Freemasons did not put this statue in the corner of my office. It's a weird spot, but I think Kyrie's going to do most of them, right?
I think he'll do them all because he's, I think he wants to play basketball, even though he's never really played basketball since he came into the league. But I think these are all just, I mean, he misses a bunch of games. Like he's always not playing. And sometimes it's because he's injured.
I thought that was a commentary on his game. I thought Chuck was too much dribbling. He travels every time. That's not basketball.
No, he just doesn't suit up often, and that's
he takes some time off every now and then.
Right. And like I think, the consequences of being a goof. Our life comes at you. Myers Leonard didn't get this much deference. He was pretty much let go. Yeah. And it is very in the same wheelhouse. So Kyrie should be thankful that he isn't getting fully Kanye'd. He's only taken considering only taking a slap on the wrist. He's still on the team. He's still in the league.
There were definite moments where when they finally announced they were suspending him, when because he was given the third straight press conference where they were just like,
oh my God.
Just press the I'm sorry button. And we as a society, that's all we require of you. And he's like, I won't do it. Or I'm like, oh, he's not gonna play basketball again. Just because for whatever reason he can't apologize and say like this.
I mean, he still might not. Let's be honest.
It's true. Because like
whatever happens at the principal's office today is really anything is up in the air.
Right.
Yeah.
Like he could come out of that because right now when they suspended him and he immediately released the apology like at 11:30 at night, like 3 hours after they suspended him, it was like, okay, he's ready to like do what they tell him to. But now that they're making him meet with Adam Silver, like as an obstinate man, it's very possible he goes the other way now. Like
it's similar to the you make the plea agreement and you write it all down. You're like, all right, I agree to this. And then when the judge is like, all right, I need to hear you say it. And then he's like, and then we could just do a fictional character. Then Saul Goodman's like, no, I didn't actually. I actually did all these things. I'm not going to say the right thing right now to get out of this. That's the most Kyrie attention we've ever given. What's the next question here?
Next up is Feeling Minnesota asks, D'Angelo Russell has been ruining my life for several years. While doing so, his Minnesota Timberwolves highlights could be pretty amazing. Cool passes, getting hero ball buckets, crunch time shots, signature celebration included. Who is the absolute worst player with great career highlights you could bamboozle a novice fan into believing is an all-time great?
Oh, this is obvious. This is the easiest answer ever. It's J.R. Smith. J.R. Smith has the best highlight reel of like. He's got a better highlight reel than LeBron, probably.
Yeah, I will. It's like a carried away, Joey.
No, like, do you remember that dunk from like the free throw line on Manu Ginobili?
Yeah.
Like
I was gonna one up here. I think your J.R. Smith answer is fantastic. I was gonna one up you with Gerald Green.
Gerald Green also a great highlight reel.
The combination of dunks and 3-pointers, and then you're like, oh, that guy barely played.
Yeah,
that guy was barely in the league. But like, D'Angelo Russell's a weird one where like. He's an actual he made the All-Star game.
Yeah.
Right.
Like he's an actual All-Star, but I've always been kind of like he's bad, but I don't know how to say he's bad, despite the fact that he does awesome things a lot. I think J.R. Smith, the fact that he became a role player and I think was a contributing role player, whether or not that would have worked outside of the orbit of LeBron, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's a good one. There's a lot of highlight guys like that.
Derrick Jones Jr.
Well, if we're just talking spectacular highlight plays, yeah.
Right.
I feel like we got to put some kind of cutoff for like a guy who, I don't know if it's made the All-Star game. Like, who's the worst All-Star? I mean, wasn't like World Be Free back in the day just terrible, but he scored 30 points a game? I don't know if I'm just absorbing that. From like,
well, I mean, another guy, one of my favorite guys ever, who like literally ruined, got Stan Van Gundy fired, basically. Or I mean, I guess he got himself fired by Stan Van Gundy, is Josh Smith, probably real high on this list.
Man, Burr is just devastated. He can't talk about how much he hated Josh Smith. It ran him away from the Atlanta Hawks.
Smith. I love Josh Smith.
No, I mean, Josh Smith was fun, but if he's on your team where John used to be a Hawks fan, and he quit because of Josh Smith. I'm trying to think of other guys who scored a bunch who you could probably argue like that guy was bad.
Monte Ellis.
Monte Ellis.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gilbert Arenas?
That's a pretty good.
No, Gilbert Arenas was actually good.
Yeah, he was amazing before he got hurt. I mean, Stephen Marbury definitely was not actually good for a while, and was still kind of.
Well, there's a guy who was. The problem here is he has bad highlights because he was unwatchable. But there is a guy who scored like thousands of points, and no one liked watching him, and he was bad. And his name was Corey Maggette. But the problem is, those highlights are bad because all he did was just get fouled. He was like proto James Harden, but also
Corey Maggette's a pretty solid one that fits, I think, the specifics of his question, because like he had some big statistical years and like physically very impressive looking, very athletic, and could score, could make jumpers, could make dunks, could get blocks and steals, but might have been actually kind of bad. So I do like that one. The D'Angelo Russell one is just tough, man. That's just it's a tough spot to be in, I feel like, as a sports fan. But like,
another guy.
What do you do with that?
Another guy. Look, I'm just picking guys who were on the Don Nelson Warriors now, but because they had a lot of these guys. David Lee, he was one of these guys. But Antoine Jameson. Antoine Jameson.
I don't know how to judge his career. Yeah.
Well, because he wasn't good.
I thought he was good. When
he did score 50 points in back-to-back games, and the Warriors fans lived on that for 5 years.
I thought Jameson was pretty solid, but if you made the argument, if you had like a Wizards fan who presented me it's all empty stats and here's why, I would be like, you're probably right. I don't have enough expertise to rebuff that. Thanks for the questions, guys. If you want your question answered on air or as part of our monthly Zoom hangout, you have to be a Patreon supporter. Do that at patreon.com/Fastbreak Breakfast. Actually, I got another.
I was going to say Anthony Randolph, but he was actually too good.
He was too good.
This question.
His highlights are so amazing. No, actually, here's another question from me. The Colts in the NFL fired their coach.
Yeah.
They also, the owner maybe benched their quarterback to play unproven quarterback. Then they fired their coach, and then they hired a replacement for a former player with no coaching experience at any level. What's our NBA equivalent of that?
It was Steve Nash.
That's Steve Nash.
We did this already. Yeah.
I was trying to think of the exact, like, all right, what if Jeannie Buss was like, Russell Westbrook can't play anymore. All his minutes go to Scottie Pippen Jr. He's going to start for the rest of the year, even though he's unproven. And Darvin Ham would be like, hey, it's kind of weird to say we're going to play Scottie Pippen Jr. every single game as the starter when we don't know if he's any good at the NBA level. They're like, all right, you're fired. Who will we replace you with? And in that specific circumstance, who would Jeannie Buss replace him with? It'd be a player.
Well, it'd be
probably a former Lakers player with no coaching experience, and they would just say
it would be Kobe, but Kobe's not alive.
Yeah,
they kind of did this. They did this already, though.
Like with Kurt Rambis?
No, hold on.
No,
they basically kept just giving Magic Johnson jobs.
They let Magic Johnson coach
that he's never had before.
That's right. So the comparison from NFL to NBA is the NBA does this constantly. Constantly. They're just like, yeah, hey man, come coach our team. All right, done.
Yeah, Magic Johnson coached the Lakers for 16 games and then resigned in 1993.
Good stuff. Anyways, if you want to support our program, get involved with the Pickle Pick'em, get involved with our Slack channel, which talks about basketball, whatever else around the clock, and get your questions answered as part of a croissant questionnaire. Do it at patreon.com/Fastbreak Breakfast. All right, it's now time for the awards segment of the program. This is the International Stackhouse of Pancakes Award, given each week to the worst performance in a box score.
Mm-hmm.
This week we have a few honorable mentions. Derrick Rose and Jabari Smith were 1 for 10. D'Angelo Russell, who is outwardly bad, is 3 for 15.
Mm-hmm.
Our three nominees, as they occurred chronologically through the last week. PJ Washington, in a loss to my Memphis Grizzlies, was 2 for 15 from the field. He had 10 points, 4 rebounds, no assists, no steals, 1 block, 2 turnovers, 1 personal foul. Dennis Smith Jr., the carriage might have turned back into the pumpkin.
I hope not.
The Dennis Smith Jr. experience has,
so
we've talked about him on every episode of season 9. I think it might be crashing and burning. Dennis Smith Jr. Had a 1 for 11 game, 3 points, 10 assists, 5 rebounds, 3 blocks. That's pretty cool. 1 turnover, 2 personal fouls. I mean, 10 assists, 5 rebounds, 3 blocks. It's kind of cool. And then Alex Caruso, he also had a 1 for 11, with 4 points, but 11 assists, 11 rebounds, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. Wait a minute, that box score is incredible.
That's a good game.
That's the best box score I've ever seen. 1 for 11, 11 assists, 11 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 blocks. He's out. We got to get a replacement. That's the best thing I've ever seen in my life.
That guy's good.
That's just a good player. That's a good player doing his good job. Alex Caruso has been amnestied off the list. We're moving in Brandon Ingram of the slightly mediocre Pelicans. I'm disappointed in the Pelicans last week. It's all I think about. Brandon Ingram in a loss was 7 for 23. He gave us some of that iShop volume.
That's a lot of shots.
That's a lot of missed shots. 7 for 23, 16 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds, 2 blocks, 1 turnover, 4 personal fouls. So our official 3 nominees, we're going PJ Washington, 2 for 15, 10 points, 4 boards. Dennis Smith Jr., 1 for 11, 3 points, 10 assists. And Brandon Ingram, 7 for 23, 16 points, 7 assists. Well, I'm going to throw my weight behind
Washington.
PJ Washington. Thank you, Joey.
You got to get more than 4 rebounds, man.
Yeah. 2 for 15 is terrible. It's comfortable. It's not a hard decision this week. Congratulations, PJ Washington, for winning the International Stackhouse of Pancakes Award. Par fadeaway, gentlemen. What things are you guys looking forward to in the NBA? Joey, what do you got your eye on?
We talked about him earlier, but I'm looking forward is probably the wrong way to explain this, but I cannot wait to see what happens with Kyrie Irving once he gets out of this meeting at the principal's office. Literally anything could happen. He could become he could literally convert to Judaism, right, or burn down the Barclays Center. Like anything could happen. Like literally, there's no predicting what happens with Kyrie Irving. And I don't even like talking about it because it's gross and bad and weird, but also it's a car crash I cannot stop watching.
Chuck, what do you got on the docket?
So my Heat, they're struggling, but what's the best thing for a struggling team? Playing the Hornets twice.
Oh, you get that Dennis Smith Jr. experience.
That back-to-back Dennis Smith Jr. life. So yeah.
Good luck with that. I watched the Golden State Warriors lose to them, thinking the same thing. So have fun.
We'll see how it goes. Gordon Hayward's out and they suck when he doesn't play.
Yeah, they don't win at all when Gordon Hayward doesn't play. And all of Gordon Hayward's hair has grown back in. After shave.
What is Gummo without Gummo?
I really thought
you
that
know
haircut was like a shave it every day or every other day situation. Mm-hmm. He just got it shaved off and just let it grow back in. Man, it's distasteful. I'm looking forward to when these teams, these big market teams we get sick of talking about. I'm sorry that it is the slow motion car crash I can't look away from. The Lakers need to trade Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
Yep.
And The Nets.
The Nets might need to trade Kevin Durant.
The Nets should trade Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
I feel like the Suns should just do it. Just why not? Just the Suns have all their draft picks. The Suns have all these large salaries of guys they don't need. They have Jay Crowder, who's refusing to play on the team.
No.
Cam Johnson, my favorite guy, got hurt. I'm bummed out about it, but like, trade Cam Johnson to the Nets. Who cares? Trade Cam Johnson, Landry Shamet, Jay Crowder, Dario Saric, and 6 first rounders.
Still
Done.
I feel like that's enough for Kevin Durant.
But you say you don't think it is?
Yeah, I'd like one more young player. You know what I mean? Like,
No, the Suns don't believe in the draft, so they don't have young.
I know that's the problem. But if I'm the Nets, like, I want that, like, I want the Malik Beasley and the Jarrett Vanderbilt, because at least they're like,
those guys are totally replaceable.
I know, but you're already getting 5 picks for Kevin Durant. Also, give me 2 players where I'm like, oh, this guy can be on my team while we're terrible for 3 years. Yeah, exactly. Give me Zaire Williams and John Conchar. You know what I mean?
I'm out on paying Kevin Durant for 4 more years, 3 years past this one. But it feels like the Suns.
He'd really help your team.
I mean, I want Anthony Davis.
I would rather have Kevin Durant than Anthony Davis.
Easy.
Yeah, but Anthony Davis is younger and makes less. It's easier to trade, and I could put Anthony Davis with
Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis, like
disgusting
feels
vibes.
one like bee sting and then is out 2 months. Like, you can't.
He shows up for the playoffs.
One time he did.
Once.
Twice. 2 times. 2 times.
Twice.
The bubble, but the bubble doesn't count. But then, yes, he dominated that tiny Portland team, where he literally bullied. I was gonna say something bad there. He literally bullied. He bullied the smallest team in the world. Like, I don't know, man. I'm out on Anthony Davis. I've been out on Anthony Davis. Like, I was so high on him as a college player. Like, I thought he was gonna like change the way we looked at like NBA, like defense.
I mean, he sort of did for 6 years, 7 years.
He was.
They got paid. They went to LA.
He averaged like 6 blocks a game in college, Keith, and like his defense is lazy, his offense is lazy. I don't like Anthony Davis.
Everything he did up until getting traded to the Lakers, people thought he was probably the most impactful or one of the most impactful players in the game. I don't feel like we could say his NBA career is disappointing by any stretch.
I kind of think you can.
You just thought he was going to be the best player ever?
Like, yeah, I thought he was like, the way people talk about Wembanyama, I think people forget that's how they were talking about Anthony Davis. Like, I'm
just saying, like, it lasted for years while he was in the league that people still thought of him like that thing. The price that the Lakers paid didn't seem that outrageous. It worked out technically as the Lakers winning the title, but yeah, he has underwhelmed the past few seasons. There's no doubt about that. I also will like.
You'd rather have Kevin Durant, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah. I guess Kevin Durant's gotten kind of weird too. Kevin
Durant just wants to be a hooper.
I do think if
in Memphis he can just hoop, bro.
If the Grizzlies got Kevin Durant, they basically couldn't do it without giving up Jaren Jackson Jr. unless they waited until after January 15th. And even then, like, I think it would make the Grizzlies one of the title favorites for this year and next year. Maybe it's worth it. I don't know. I feel like
it's worth it. It's worth it, Keith.
Yeah.
He and Ja would be so awesome.
Oh my God.
It would be amazing. I'm not saying they wouldn't be amazing. It would be an ideal fit, but like, what's the price and what's the you're raising the Grizzlies title odds from like 18-1 to 8-1, and is it worth sacrificing all you've built up? I don't know. I know Pat Riley would say yes. Pat Riley would go for it.
As a Golden State Warrior fan, I'm telling you, yes, it's worth it. Like, everyone hates you when you get Kevin Durant for years, but it's worth it.
Maybe they'd forgive us because he would come and help out. He'd
the
finally.
Problem would be he would get so bummed. He would get so bummed that it won't be his team and it will be Ja's team forever. It's honestly kind of like the Curry thing all over again.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, anyways, I'm also looking forward to our watch party on Friday night. Grizzlies fans in the Middle Tennessee area come to Noble's Beer Hall. The late game, 8:30 this Friday. We'll be giving away a signed Ja Morant poster and other Grizzlies prizes. Hope to see you there. If you want to support our show, do that at patreon.com/Fastbreak Breakfast. Listen to Joey's podcast, The Roundball Rock. Join the Roundball Rock podcast. You guys are the best. Thanks for listening. And remember, breakfast is the most important thing.